Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online Series 9 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. Today we are trying out a fun Rain team for Series 9. Now we've used Rain a little bit back in Series 7 and obviously in Series 8, so this isn't a brand new concept by any means, but I wanted to feature this team, one, just because I think Rain is a fun archetype, and two, because it features a support Luxray, which I thought was really interesting, as well as a Choice Specs Galarian Moltres. Most players, when you see Moltres, expect Weakness Policy or Life Orb, for example, with Nasty Plot, but Specs is certainly something that you don't see as often. Luxray is also really interesting. We had used it a little bit in previous formats in this last year, but it's not exactly the most common pick, right? It's relatively in that mid-tier speed stat tier. It doesn't do that much damage. I think the one Luxray team we did feature on this channel a while back was like a Dynamax variant, but this is a full support variant, although it can do a sizable amount of damage as well. So the idea is, it offers you another Intimidate user alongside that Incineroar, and it has Snarl, so you can decrease your opponent's stats pretty quickly. Kingdra is a really strong Pokemon, but at the end of the day, it actually can't really pick up that many one-hit KOs, unfortunately. Its base special attack is just like somewhat mediocre compared to other Weather Sweepers, for example. And so with Kingdra, often you want to either stall out your opponent's Dynamax in the early turns and then Dynamax it, or just, do a lot of damage with Helping Hand from Politoed, which really lends a Helping Hand, and just boost Kingdra's damage output, right? Politoed has Perish Song, which you often see on Politoeds with Rain teams, because the goal is once you pick up 2 KOs, you can just click that Perish Song and end the game. So that kind of makes up for the somewhat lack of damage output like Kingdra can sometimes provide, or can't provide, I suppose. So either way, yeah, this was built by a Japanese player who used this for the online qualifiers for Japanese nationals. They wrote a team report for this, so huge thank you to them. I've linked their Twitter down in the description below, as well as a rental and a paste, and their team report written in Japanese. So with us featuring Luxray today, question of the day, I want to know what your favorite Gen 4 evolution is down in the comment section below. I don't know if I have one favorite, but like Empoleon, Gallade, Bronzong, Garchomp are all a couple that come to mind. So let me know your answers down in the comment section below. Thanks so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy, and let's get started with today's episode. Alright, first match of the day, we're actually going up against Moxie Boosted, no way. Alright, this should be a fun one. I think he built like a Grassy Seed Xurkitree team recently. He's got Dragapult as well, but we have Kingdra. I mean, Kingdra in general is really solid here. How valuable is Luxray for us? It's actually not bad because they have Celesteela. Like, I don't think we bring Rillaboom. We could go just Luxray, Moltres, Kingdra. I'd be really shocked if he let Dragapult Coalossal, because we have Kingdra. So I honestly kind of want to go with Luxray plus Moltres. Although if I go Luxray Moltres and he goes Kingdra, that's pretty bad for us, right? Sorry, if he goes Dragapult Cole. I guess he could go Urshifu Cole as well. But then you do so much damage to yourself with Self Aqua Jet. What else could he possibly lead here? Xurkitree Rillaboom, for example? Xurkitree Rillaboom, that's interesting. Xurkitree Rillaboom. Then you max Xurkitree, max Lightning on turn 1. I kind of want to try out Luxray Moltres with Kingdra in the back. I don't think you would ever lead Dragapult or Urshifu Cole into Kingdra, and that's the lead that like makes the most sense from my end. Maybe it was just too consistent to not go with, honestly. So maybe I should have just let it. I don't know. But the goal here is to apply some early pressure. Luxray can Snarl as well, which is pretty valuable into Xurkitree. And yeah, Xurkitree Rillaboom. Okay, that's what I thought. I mean, you could fake out into Luxray. I have Fiery Wrath, I have Hurricane, like, we definitely have options. The play I want to make the most is just switch Luxray out into Poly and just Hurricane Rillaboom. Get that out of the way. That seems okay to me. What's the alternative? Snarl? Yeah, I don't know. Switching to Poly and just going for Hurricane seems kind of nice here. Because I expect Fake Out into the Luxray slot. But maybe Rillaboom switches out here. That would be a pretty good play. Yeah, it does. Okay. I like that a lot on their end. But it's Urshifu, so it still takes a huge Hurricane, right? Now the interesting question is, what do you do with this Xurkitree on turn 1? I don't know. Either way, I think Kingdra is a really good matchup into this, so we just want to utilize that as well as possible. Do they max? No, they don't max, okay. So I could have just stayed in and snarled. Urshifu's down to its sash. Yep, no surprise there. It's going to heal a little bit from grassy terrain. We actually get a confusion, which is kind of nice. Calm Mind. Okay, very interesting. Calm Mind. I feel like Xurkitree probably maxes now. As if I were him, I would protect Urshifu and then max Lightning into Moltres. So like I'm kind of down to switch Moltres out into Luxray and go for a Scald here on a Xurkitree. Yeah, this is kind of just a hard read this turn. I think I probably could have just led Poly Kingdra, honestly, and just gone like Max Geyser onto Xurk turn 1, switch out Poly into Luxray turn 1. But we'll see. Either way, yeah, Calm Mind Xurkitree is super interesting. We are entirely special damage right now, so that's actually pretty valuable against us. Yep, so they're gonna max. Which means no more grassy terrain, which is at least kind of nice. They could have just gone Surging Strikes here into Moltres and then max Lightning into Politoed as well. I think that also makes a lot of sense. But then we get to go into Kingdra. And with Kingdra, you typically want to Dynamax after your opponent. Okay, Urshifu looks like it's going to go for something. Okay, it does just opt for Surging Strikes here. Attacks their Confusion, which is nice for them. Yep, going to target the Luxray. We have Citrus, so we will survive. But I think that implies that Poly is probably getting targeted by a Lightning here. I get a free switch in into Kingdra, but at what cost is the question, right? Yeah, there's the Lightning. Okay, it is a double up onto Luxray though, which is good. I gotta knock out Urshifu here, but honestly don't mind not picking up the KO, to be honest. It does get a Beast Boost though, which I guess is pretty scary right now. So I could go into Moltres, I could Snarl. That doesn't really give me that much value though. Yeah, the special defense boost is what's actually really tough. Although Scald actually did a lot there. I'm thinking Helping Hand Max Geyser just KO Xurkitree, honestly. I feel like it should. So like that's kind of just what I want to go for right now. Helping Hand, Max, and just base 140 rain boosted Life Orb onto Xurkitree. Luxray was good here as a sacrifice unit. Okay, Urshifu switches out. That's fine. Back out onto Rillaboom. That's also fine. You get rid of your own terrain now. And I can obviously just pivot Politoed out next turn, or just go for Helping Hand Airstream onto Rillaboom too. That also works. But that was a really good switch on there in turn 1, because I think if we just eliminated Rillaboom, like, the game accelerates so quickly for us. So, based on that Scald damage, I actually think Helping Hand Max Geyser might be enough to pick up a KO, but maybe this is a poor assumption on my end. Either way, though, you're not one-shotting Kingdra without Electric Terrain anymore, I don't think. Maybe it's a Max Guard here from Xurkitree, but if you Max Guard, then I can just double protect next turn, right? Okay, and I feel like Max Guard wouldn't make that much sense here. Yep, no Max Guard. Here's Helping Hand, Life Orb, Geyser. See if this is enough to KO through the special attack boost. It is. Okay, or special defense boost. Nice. We did get the burn on Xurkitree, which was a little bit fortunate, but don't know if that really mattered. I'm curious on the Xurkitree spread, honestly. So that's good. Xurkitree was looking pretty scary there. It was actually really critical that Politoed didn't get hit by the Max Lightning that turn. So I feel like this was a game in which Politoed Kingdra was just objectively the best lead, and I should have just let it. Because, like, what can Rillaboom and Xurkitree really do into that? My only fear was that Politoed then becomes really weak, but then we could have just pivoted Politoed out into Luxray turn 1, right? Okay, so now we have Specs in the back. We know their last one's Urshifu. Like, well, I guess Celesteela is still pretty scary. It's probably correct to switch out into Moltres here. I don't mind switching out into Moltres, I think, and just going for a Max Geyser onto Celesteela. I could also Helping Hand Airstream Rillaboom here. I'm down to Geyser Celesteela. Because at this point we have dual flying types. Okay, Rillaboom switches out. Nice. That's even better for us. Yeah, now I think we're in a really good spot. It was smart on him to conserve the Rillaboom because you want to conserve the Rillaboom for Politoed in the end game. So I think that was a really good play. But I think Specs Moltres is going to be huge for us in this end game. And Celesteela, oh, you know what's scary here? If it's Meteor Beam. Oh, we just one-shot. Okay, Kingdra is actually really impressing me right now. I was kind of saying how it can't really like pick up that many one-hit KOs as Dynamax, but this is what I was saying, right? In this game, we had the late Dynamax advantage. We had one extra turn to work with, and we managed to get Kingdra in a position where the Helping Hand support from Politoed actually plays such a big role, because without Helping Hand, like, you can't pick up that many one-hit KOs. So I'm glad Kingdra is actually proving me wrong, as I was, like, before I was going into this, I was saying, oh, you know, it doesn't really hit for that much. The Helping Hand support obviously adds a lot of value, though, so... now we can just go for Hurricane onto Rillaboom, and Max Airstream is always the right play here into Urshifu to get a KO through potential Protect. So, yeah. I think this was just kind of a matchup difference, to be honest. Politoed Kingdra was really, really good on paper here. So I went Luxray and Moltres expecting Xurkitree and Rillaboom, but I didn't really know what the Rillaboom set had to offer. We did get a little bit lucky with the Confusion and the Burn as well. I mean, in the end, Urshifu didn't attack through the Confusion. Did manage to attack through the Confusion, but yeah. So it's Grassy Seed, Modest, a lot of HP investment, Policy Coalossal. By the way, guys, please go check out Moxie Boosted. It was Meteor Beam. So if Meteor Beam went into the Politoed slot that turn and Kingdra didn't one-shot this thing, we actually could have been in some trouble. Although, let's say even if you one-shot Moltres, I bring Poly back in, and then what's the endgame scenario? It's Poly Kingdra against Celesteela. I think we still probably win in that scenario, but it gets a lot closer just because... what's the item on Rillaboom? Is Miracle Seed. Yeah, then it's a question of how much Glide does into Kingdra, Sash Urshifu, Safety Goggles, Dragapult. If you all don't know Moxie, by the way, he's a content creator on YouTube and makes VGC content as well. So I've linked his Twitter and YouTube in the description below. You should definitely go check him out. Yeah, Xurkitree is just kind of a tough Pokemon to use in this format, and I think Kingdra was actually just so good on paper there, where that like Moxie just didn't really have that many options. But that could have been a very different game, and Max Lightning actually went into Politoed turn 2. So that I was hoping to bait out the attacks into Moltres. That's one of the interesting things about the Moltres on this team. It's a Choice Specs variant, right? But a lot of people typically expect Moltres to max, and since Moltres is so bulky, like the double up in that position makes a lot of sense because you want to just KO it. You don't want to let it survive for longer, activate a potential weakness policy, let Berserk go crazy as well. And so Politoed just getting a single Scald off was a game changer, and that game shows how like one single move can make all the difference, right? But in that game, honestly, I really feel like I probably should have just led Politoed Kingdra. I just didn't really know what to expect from the Xurkitree. Because if we led Politoed Kingdra, like, I can pretty easily just like max Geyser Xurkitree turn 1 and then switch out Politoed into Luxray, right? Because then the Luxray intimidates the Rillaboom, it covers for a Glide onto the Politoed slot and we would survive, and then also covers for a max Lightning into that slot. So I think that was probably the better play. Either way, next game here, and it's Grim, Lapras, Zapdos, Pharaoh, Incin, and Porygon. So pretty bulky team across the board. These teams are always tricky to deal with, especially because of the Grimmsnarl. So, I mean, when I see Grimmsnarl, the first thing I ask myself is, can I actually one-shot it? I don't think so, unfortunately. I don't think it's going to be Policy on the Lapras here. I wonder, Entei maybe I have some shenanigans. Since my opponent's team is so bulky, I think we... ideally position ourselves to just pick up 2 knockouts and then click Parasol with Politoed. Luxray with Snarl is actually really valuable for us in this game, in my opinion. I kind of, I don't know, expect Grimmsnarl Zapdos or Grimmsnarl Lapras. Both of those make some sense to me. I mean, Rillaboom is really bad into the Zapdos here. Rillaboom's so good into Politoed. Not Politoed, Lapras, but that's basically it. I might just go Luxray plus Moltres again, Poly Kingdra in the back. Since their team is pretty bulky as well, and we have Intimidate and Snarl support, like, I really think we should just try to angle to pick up 2 knockouts as quickly as possible. I think knocking out all 4 Pokemon without Parasol is going to be a little bit more difficult here, because we don't have super reliable damage outside of Kingdra and Galarian Moltres. Yeah, so this is Grimmsnarl Lapras. That's kind of what I was expecting. I guess the problem here is, though, that you can just go for Fake Out, or does Grimmsnarl have Fake Out? I guess that's the other question. Because I have Snarl with both of these Pokemon, right? So, like, let's say Grimmsnarl goes for a turn 1 Light Screen. Like, I'm down to just double Snarl to start off this game. Or, how wild would this be? I'm gonna be real, I actually think if there's any game to Dynamax Luxray, it might just be this game. Yeah. I think I might go for this. I think I might just Max Lightning. And, Fiery Wrath, turn 1. Like, you're probably wondering, like, what in the world? Like, why would you do that? But, like, what does double Snarl really accomplish for me, right? I get Lapras down to -2, but it probably still gets a Resonance off. And, like, I think Lapras is going to want to max in this position. So, like, because my game plan going into this game was just pick up 2 KOs anyway, I think this could actually work. I think I probably like switching Moltres out more here rather than... Oh, okay, they go for Protect. That's a really good play. I mean, I still don't mind it too much, because honestly... Oh, are they just going for Spirit Break on Grimmsnarl? Okay, I didn't expect that. The reason I don't mind this too much is because I end up setting up the Electric Terrain anyway, right? I don't think it's Policy Lapras. I would... Oh, actually, it probably is, right? Why would you be Light Clay if you're... Like, your Grimmsnarl's probably Light Clay instead. Let's see. It could be Life Orb as well. Those are all possible explanations here. Okay, it's not Policy, yeah. So my suspicion was right. They are just going to Spirit Break into Moltres here, which I'm fine with. It's not that much damage. Flinch there would have been real nice. Okay, so now you probably expect the Lapras to switch out, right? There's no way they stay in on a Max Lightning. So, with that, then I'm down to Max Lightning into Grimmsnarl and Fiery Wrath again. Because if you can eliminate Grimmsnarl, then once again, the goal is to just pick up 2 knockouts, bring in Poly. Yeah, so there's the switch. Good Protect turn 1, though. Good Protect turn 1 for sure. Pharaoh comes in. This thing can obviously Iron Defense. Oh, gosh. What? Is it Lagging Tail with Trick? Yeah. Hopefully Max Lightning Terrain boosted KOs this thing right now. It might not. Let's see. Alright, Electric Terrain boosted, Max Lightning from Luxray. Is it enough? No. And now Grimmsnarl heals back as a Citrus, which is definitely a little unfortunate. So, not exactly how I intended for this game to start, but it's still not that bad for us, right? I guess the trouble is just picking up the second knockout. The thing is, right now, we actually intentionally maybe don't want to KO either of these Pokemon. Because if I KO Grimmsnarl, my opponent gets a free switch into their max option, which is likely going to be the Lapras. What's the alternative, though? I think I'm just going to switch out the Moltres here into Poly. Yeah, okay. Lightning into Grimmsnarl, switch Moltres out into Politoed here. I don't regret going for Max Lightning turn 1, but my opponent playing defensive was really, really good on their end. Like, I was expecting them to just get a little bit aggressive and Max Lapras on turn 1, and if they actually had done that, we'd be in really, really good shape right now. The double Snarl play I would have wanted to make turn 1 wouldn't have really been that amazing either. Pharaoh protects, which is great. Okay, nice. Okay, it's going to be fake tears onto Luxray. That also makes sense. Because now you're priming it for the Lapras, basically. So this is the thing. Picking up a second KO is going to be difficult, right? We already have Parasol and Politoed on the field, so I essentially need to KO the Ferrothorn. Luxray with the special defense drops right now isn't very good for us. Lapras probably comes back out. Could be Zapdos. Zapdos, Entei, Porygon are the last ones, but yeah, there's Lapras. It's Trick Lagging Tail too, unfortunately for us. Like, if it weren't that, then Luxray would actually still be in a really good spot because we could just like Wild Charge. So now I kind of expect Resonance until a Luxray slot, and I can't protect it, unfortunately. That's not great. I think I'm going to switch out into Kingdra here, reset those drops, and just go for a Scald here until the Ferrothorn. It's leftovers. It's probably Iron Defense Body Press, so like my goal right now is to just pick up a KO until the Ferrothorn and then click Parasol and Politoed to end the game. Like, I always knew damage was going to be pretty difficult to distribute in this game. Oh, they don't max. Oh, that's really interesting. We get a burn on Ferrothorn, which is quite fortunate. They actually opted for Hydro Pump. Wow, okay. Nice. That's a really big deal. Choosing not to max there, they could have gotten a Resonance off. We dodged too, which was pretty fortunate. Okay. Now, I would think Ferrothorn protects this next turn so that we could, like, go Poly into Moltres, protect Kingdra. Gosh, just picking up one more KO here is really difficult. But if Ferro protects and I actually get this switch correctly, we're in really good shape because then I can double Hurricane into Ferro for a KO and then Poly just clicks Perish Song. I'm really surprised my opponent didn't max last turn, but it also made sense because they probably didn't feel like they were at much risk of taking damage. I just think like maxing there is better because like they're not going to max again. Wow. This is probably a freeze dry, right? Into Kingdra, I would think. Yeah. Okay, Ferro didn't protect though, unfortunately. They're just going to leave Seed again. Okay. Well, this next turn is interesting. You would think you'd want to max the Kingdra now, right? Or sorry, max the Lapras. The protect on Ferrothorn this next turn is so obvious, I almost want to just double up into it. It's really risky though, right? Like, it is really risky. I just like kind of have a feeling they're not going to protect, but it was a really good decision on their end to not protect last turn, because I could have gotten... Yeah, I think I'm just going to double Hurricane here, I think. Because I could see them reading into a switch and leaf seeding again, and at some point I need to apply the pressure. And if Ferro doesn't... I think Lapras here probably finally maxes. I would max in Resonance into the Moltres slot here. But they could, of course, just freeze dry Kingdra, which admittedly is a little bit risky. Okay, they don't max, but they don't protect either. Wow. I just hope the Specs Hurricane finishes it off. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it should. I'd be really surprised if it didn't. But maybe they're not maxing because they have... Oh my gosh, Ferro... How especially defensive is that? That took a Life Orb Kingdra Hurricane as well as a Specs Hurricane from Moltres. Sheesh, okay. That is kind of underwhelming, I have to say. That is really disappointing, actually. Because if we pick up that KO, then it's just Politoed comes in and clicks Perish Song, but we didn't. Ugh. Yeah, that's definitely a bummer. This is the problem, though, with Kingdra, right? Without the max. This is what I get for committing my max to Luxray so early on in the game. But I don't regret it. My opponent just played super smart. Okay, I'm going to go into Poly here, I think. I think it's really hard to win the game now, because Ferrothorn has Protect. They should always protect this turn. Yeah. I really needed that KO on Ferrothorn. Is it specially invested? Because I really didn't think it would take a Specs Hurricane and a Life Orb Hurricane. That's kind of wild to me, honestly. Maybe we hope for Ferro Confusion here. Okay. The Protect, like, doesn't give... actually, we shouldn't Protect here in case they have, like, Zapdos, I guess, in the back. I'm just gonna Hurricane Scald Ferro here. Oh, they switch out. That's actually really interesting. Zapdos? No, it was Porygon. Yeah, this is why I just needed the KO, right? If we got that knockout last turn, this game, I think, would probably be over at this point. But now we should lose because Lapras is finally gonna max. So, really, really thin margins here. But yeah, Ferrothorn's just really clutch. I mean, Ferrothorn historically has been really one of the best Pokemon to have against rain teams, so yeah. Even if I went Helping Hand Hurricane earlier, that wouldn't have worked. Like, I think I went for my best play. I just am really impressed. I feel like that's probably max HP, max special defense Ferrothorn. Because I just really didn't think there was any chance it was surviving that. It was smart of them to switch out there as well. I was thinking, you know, they could mess up by going for a Protect. There's Resonance now. And yeah, I can't really win with the Lagging Tail and the Luxray. Lagging Tail was what made the difference here as well, right? Like, part of the reason why I was somewhat comfortable maxing Luxray was because I was thinking, hey, you know, like, even if you do go for Protect, I'll still be faster. I can just go for Electric Terrain boosted Wow Charge, and that alone is a big burst of damage. So, yeah. Well, I guess rain is over, so Luxray theoretically could survive. This game is... No, it's not winnable anymore, I think, because the Politoed is always going to be slow... Or Pharaoh's going to be faster than the... Sorry, Pharaoh's going to be slower than Politoed. Well, actually, I could still win via Perish Song. It's still theoretically possible. We do have Superpower on this Luxray as well. So if they don't recover for some reason, like, we could just KO Porygon with Scald Superpower. You should always recover here, though, because you know you have the lagging tail until Luxray at this point. But if for some reason they go for, like, a Tri-Attack instead, Superpower maybe gives us an out. Because, like, then it's like you set up the rain, so maybe Scald can KO the Ferrothorn. Yeah, it's looking unlikely, though. It wasn't that much damage, yeah. I do think this probably would have been a win if we actually managed to KO the Pharaoh. Yeah, they just go for recover, yeah. This is my greed in maxing on turn 1 as well, like not scouting for Grimmsnarl's item. That was a little bit ambitious, but my opponent just played really smartly by making that defensive play. I mean, I'm gonna be real, like Rain, Pharaoh, Rain into Porygon, Ferrothorn, Lapras is not exactly the best matchup for us, right? Like, I don't think Rillaboom could have come out here. Well, if I knew my opponent's sets here, given the Pokemon that they brought, because they didn't bring Zapdos or Entei, Rillaboom would actually make a lot of sense. But in a best of 1, it doesn't feel consistent enough, even though Lapras is likely to come out from my opponent's end. Then you'd bring Incineroar for Ferrothorn, but that's basically it. I just needed to not get hit by Lagging Tail. Yeah, there's really nothing we can do at this point, so I'll just forfeit. So I actually, like, I still don't regret maxing the Luxray, honestly, because I think if my opponent gets a little bit greedy and doesn't, like, max his Lapras on turn 1, we're actually in pretty good shape. It was a little bit aggressive on my end, though, because it might have activated a potential weakness policy there, right? So, yeah. But I think Rain teams, the last 2 games did feel both, like, a little bit matchup-based, right? Where, like, the first game we had a really good matchup. We won this game. Like, we didn't have a great matchup. I think the plays that I made, like, at least gave me a shot at, like, a surprise, right? Because, like, when the matchup is bad, you have to find some clever plays to try to win. And it didn't work out for us in that one, but I don't necessarily regret it. If I knew my opponent was Trick Lagging Tail, like, maybe I would lead Rillaboom. I don't even know, though, because I couldn't one-shot the Grimmsnarl. Like, Luxray's damage output, unfortunately, wasn't amazing there, right? So, yeah. But, yeah, just good on my opponent to protect that Lapras turn 1. I just can't believe Ferrothorn survived the double up, honestly. Still kind of shocked by that, so, yeah. But that's why, like, EV investment matters a lot, right? I imagine that was very specially defensive invested, because if it weren't, I would think, like, if you were, like, max HP, like, Bold, for example, max defense, yeah, I would think we'd pick up the KO. Okay, here's another Grimmsnarl team. This team's also pretty bulky, so I kind of want to execute the same plan. I think I'm just going to go Luxray Moltres again, Poly Kingdra in the back. We have to be really worried about Trick Room, though, don't we? Yeah, Trick Room's a pretty big issue. Like, they could just go Grim Porygon. Still kind of want to go Luxray Moltres, Poly Kingdra, though. See how things play out. Yeah, I mean, the game plan last game was fine. It was to pick up 2 KOs. We just unfortunately couldn't pick up that second knockout on a Ferrothorn. The margins were so slim there. And then the trick didn't make things any easier, because then the Grimmsnarl also got recovery via the Citrus Berry, so that was, like, everything going wrong for us. It is Porygon Grim. Okay, so I kind of expect Porygon Grim plus Glastrier in the back, right? So once again, we're in this weird spot where, like, picking up 2 KOs might be a little bit difficult, because they're just so bulky. Turn 1, what do we want to do? I don't mind going for Volt Switch onto Grim and Fiery Wrath. Like, I don't think it makes much sense to target Porygon right now, because Porygon is often, you know, it's just going to recover all of it off. So, yeah. Like, this is why a Parasol with this team is actually a really, really critical component, because you need it to end games. Especially when your opponent's, like, Grim, Porygon, you know, these Pokemon are just so bulky, but they can't win against Parasol in the end game. Yeah, but the only problem is that picking up 2 KOs is easier said than done. Oh, that's interesting. They don't fake out or go for priority with Grimmsnarl. Okay. Well, I'll just chip away at it for a little bit. They are probably going to Spirit Break, which is fine. I can bring in Poly now. Yeah, the damage output is just a little bit underwhelming against these super bulky Pokemon. Like, without a Steel type or anything like Thread and Setup, I feel like our options are just somewhat limited. Okay, Spirit Break into Moltres. Yep, that makes sense because it covers for Nasty Plot, and then you probably Trick Room with Porygon. Which is okay. Yeah. Conserving Luxray for Intimidate onto Glastrier is actually going to be really critical, so yeah. In this position, I'm just going to Scald and Fiery Wrath. You don't really want to switch out Grimmsnarl into Glastrier, risking Scald. Luxray for Intimidate will still be valuable. Our goal right now is to just make sure Dynamax ends. Or not, sorry, not let Dynamax ends. Oh, they taunt Politoed. Okay, that's fine. I'd rather see that than a Spirit Break because it means we get more damage via Scald, but yeah, that explains it. They have Eerie Impulse and Porygon. So that was actually a really smart method in dealing with Nasty Plot weakness policy Moltres, right? Because like typically it's pretty risky to just use something that's super effective into a Moltres. Okay, good damage on a Grimm. Another Fiery Wrath coming out. Typically it's a little bit risky to go for that, right? But my opponent's solution was basically, hey, even if you are nasty plotting and weakness policy, well, I'll just set up Trick Room, Spirit Break brings you down, and then I can just go for Eerie Impulse to bring you down even further, right? So that was really clever. Okay, in this position, I think Grimm stays in. And I don't want to KO it to give it a free switch in. So what I'm actually down to do here is Scald into the Porygon and switch out into Luxray. To which then I have a bunch of plays. I could Helping Hand Superpower Porygon. That would be really interesting. Oh, they actually switch Porygon out. Okay. Into Glastrier. So this is a really risky switch on their end, right? Because if I get a burn here, they're in so much trouble. Either way, this is pretty good for us because we actually get Luxray out and get that Intimidate off immediately. So I'm happy about that. Yeah, I wasn't expecting them to stay in with both Pokemon, but it's risky to switch in Glastrier here because 30% of the time you are just in such bad shape if the burn happens. And, you know, Scald Burn is one of the higher probability, like, secondary chances that you can get in the game. So let's see if they end up getting punished for it. There's Scald. No burn, unfortunately, but that's okay. We got an Intimidate onto this thing, so I'll take it, and they only have 2 turns of Trick Room left. So, like, I'm down to pivot Luxray out. What do you do here, actually, if you're my opponent? Because you know I have Moltres in the back. Max Hailstorm would... but you'd have to cover for me having Instant. Although I haven't revealed all of my Pokemon. But, like, would I really have Instant? Because then I clearly didn't bring any strong Max options, right? I mean, I would switch Grimm out if I were my opponent right now. And I don't think Max Quake even KOs this thing right now. So, like, I'm down here to Scald into Grimm and Volt Switch into Glastrier. Maybe a double up on a Grimm would have been better, because I think Grimm switches out here, but they don't, which is actually, I think, a good thing for us. I really wanted to switch Luxray out here, but the question is into what, right? I go either into Moltres or Kingdra, but both of those feel too essential for the late game for us to give up. So we should get a knockout onto the Grimmsnarl here, which is good, because now we just need one more KO. But I think, just like the last game, both like Porygon 2 and Glastrier are really bulky Pokemon, so it's hard to actually say, hey, I can actually just pick up a KO. So they're going to opt for Hailstorm here, fine by me. With the Intimidate, nice, we survive, get Citrus. Now we can pivot Luxray in and out once again for Intimidate, so yeah. And their Life Orb, oh wow. Okay, I have to say Luxray took that pretty well for a Life Orb Max Hailstorm from Glastrier. It's not bad at all. Your Spirit Break, yep. Onto Luxray as well, nice, we survive, very good. Should get the knockout now onto the Grimm with Scald and the Hailstorm, or the Hail Chip. Okay, and Volt Switch just for a little bit of chip damage. Okay, I think I want to go out into Moltres here. Actually, it's probably better to go into Kingdra, because Kingdra offers me the potential of max guarding. The other problem here is that we know they have Eerie Impulse. Oh, I guess then they had set up Light Screen as well on the Porygon, which is such a pain. This would have actually been an interesting scenario to, like, not knock out the Grimmsnarl, but yeah, I don't know. We need one more KO right now, but Porygon should just come back in, so, like, getting the second KO is just really difficult right now. I think Screens is not exactly super easy to go up against in using this team either. And the combination of Light Screen plus really bulky Pokemon, you can see, is just adding up fairly quickly, unfortunately. I think Poly's switching out into Luxray here is entirely too obvious, but I still kind of want to go for it. Yeah, I think I'm down to go for it, and does Porygon recover here? I mean, I could just double protect here, right? That actually feels like probably just the better play. Okay, yeah, I'm actually kind of down for that. Because I don't think switching out into Luxray gives me that much anyway, right? It's not like it puts me in a better offensive position going into the subsequent turn. So, yeah. And I have to say, with this team, like, I'd rather have gone up against more fast-paced teams that are a little bit more offensive, because breaking through this bulk right now is just very, very difficult for us. Especially because, like, Light Screen is up. Now they're getting a special defense boost via Max Quake. It's just kind of a pain. I still feel okay because we have Parasol on the Politoed, but that's why Parasol is actually a really critical move on the Politoed, because otherwise breaking through all of this bulk is maybe a little bit too difficult. They're probably going to recover here, yeah. That's the right play, because you know you have the special defense boost, you know you have Light Screen, so you want to just ensure survival right now. So, yeah, I like that a lot. So another Trick Room will likely go up at this point, but their damage output is a little bit underwhelming right now. Trick Room expires. I could obviously go for like a Helping Hand max move right now. I think that's the other problem. This team is like just more reliant on special damage, right? So it's like I don't have any physical attackers. That's why on rain teams you'll typically see something like a Metagross or a Kartana. And so as a result, because we're going up against Light Screen plus Max Quake, it's a little bit tougher to break through right now, which is fine. I kind of want to stay in with Politoed here and switch out into Luxray. It's a little bit risky because they might Max Quake the Kingdra slot here, but I think Politoed you would think would be more likely to switch out right now. So I'm targeting Glastrier because Glastrier has limited HP, right? Whereas like Porygon can continue to heal up, and that's kind of annoying. And we still have a Dynamax to play towards in the late game, don't forget that. It's just with the Eerie Impulse, Light Screen, and Max Quake, like I'm not doing that much damage right now anyway. So we'll go for Skull. Burn would be huge. Fortunately, no burn in two procs, so it's not great. And they managed to Hailstorm the Kingdra slot, which is also a great play. So definitely a little frustrating. Just because, yeah, if we Scald Burn there at either point, and the odds of getting one burn out of two chances are actually, you know, not terrible, we would be in pretty good shape. Now this is really tough because the Porygon is Eerie Impulse, so I'm just doing like so little damage right now. However, Glastrier's max is over, right? And that's a critical like key to the equation as well. So like we can just go back out into Kingdra. I could have maxed Kingdra, gone Geyser onto Glastrier, switched Politoed out into Luxray. That could have been kind of a nice play. The problem now is that I think if you're my opponent, you just Eerie Impulse, right? Okay. This is definitely kind of a long-paced game so far. I am down to just double protect here. Like, our goal, once again, is to just KO Glastrier, right? So if I double protect, I mean, I'm stalling out another turn of Light Screen. I just think I'm probably going to get hit by a... Let me go for high horsepower onto Poly, okay. Eerie Impulse on a Kingdra? Yeah, makes sense. I'm honestly contemplating maxing Porygon right now, just because I don't think you're going to Eerie Impulse the Porygon. I think it's probably better to just Helping Hand max and go for Geyser here. Because I just need to KO Glastrier. That's all I'm angling for right now. Then I can just click Parasol and end the game. So yes, I'm going to get hit by Eerie Impulse. Yes, this Max Geyser isn't going to do very much, but I kind of need to do this also from a defensive standpoint, because maybe now, after I Max Guarded, my opponent's willing to double up onto Kingdra with like Icicle Crash and Eerie Impulse. And I can't switch into Moltres. I can't really go for a double protect reliably. So, yeah. I don't mind taking a high horsepower on Politoed right now. I don't know. Maxing Poly could have actually been interesting here. Yep, so there's Icicle Crash, as expected, and probably Eerie Impulse. I would double up into the Kingdra slot here. Yep. But this is fine, right? Because this was the point of maxing. This was the one play that kind of covered for their option. Now, this Max Geyser is going to do really, really sad damage, but any damage is damage right now, because I'm just trying to click Parasol with Politoed to end this game. And so, you know, the Glastrier is taking 10% each turn from Life Orb as well, which is critical. Okay. 2 turns of Trick Room left, right? If you look at what they have in the back, well, they do have one answer actually into Politoed, which is that Rotom. Actually, you probably have Rotom in the back, right? How could you not bring Rotom into this matchup? Ah, so this is still really dicey. 2 turns of Light Screen left. High horsepower is definitely not KOing us. I'm honestly down to just Scald into Glastrier and Max Geyser. Actually, I'm down to Wormwind. No, Geyser does more. Well, Wormwind covers for a Rotom switch in, though. And decreases its attack. Yeah, okay, I'm down to Wormwind. Maybe it protects? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, they're just gonna Ice Beam. That's fine. Oh, man. Okay, but we thought, thankfully. Oh, that could have been a real tilter otherwise. Yeah. Alright, this is definitely a long-paced game so far, but sometimes you gotta play patient, right? It's matchup dependent. Last turn of Light Screen, last turn of our max. I don't want to feint to a double up here, so I'm just going to Scald Glastrier and Protect. This has been a doozy of a game, I have to say. That freeze was really scary. Actually, high horsepower, and we dodge on Politoed. I did not want that dodge, to be honest. I wanted that to take damage, because now I don't know if Scald KOs. I wanted the 10% from the Life Orb. Yeah. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, you would think Glastrier just protects here, right? As Porygon just sets up another Trick Room. So, I mean, I'll Scald the Porygon and Hurricane the Glastrier, but the one time I needed the attack to connect, it didn't. Ugh, which isn't fun. But this is, I mean, the issue, right? Like, I didn't bring super reliable damage into this. I don't have great reliable damage into Porygon Glastrier, though, honestly, and Grimmsnarl with Light Screen support. Like, there is no answer. And, like, we fished for, what, we had 3 Scalds, and we didn't burn a single time. I should have actually gone just Hurricane on a Porygon, but it's a little bit risky in case the Glastrier actually decides to just attack there, right? Oh, interesting. They just Ice Beam. This implies to me that their last one is going to be Rotom. I'm going to Scald, and this is actually a really interesting position, because let's say their last one is Rotom. We have Snarl and Moltres, so we win the game by KOing Glastrier, bring out Moltres, Snarl, Parasong next turn. Okay. Yeah, them not Trick Rooming makes me... Well, see, the rest of their team is actually decently speedy. Rotom, Volcarona. So, that makes sense. Ice Beam into Moltres, which actually activates Berserk, which is actually quite nice for us as well. Huh, now I can Helping Hand Fiery Wrath. That's also an option. But if it is Rotom, I think our best play really is to just Snarl and Parasong. And then we just switch Poly out. Yep, it is Rotom. I don't know my damage calcs here. Because the question is, like, how much does Helping Hand, Choice Specs, Fiery Wrath at +1 do to both of these? This thing's also at +1 special defense, so it's not going to KO. I think the play is we use Snarl. Snarl comes up huge for us here, and we finally go for the Parasong. Like, this is what I was angling for the entire game, but I'm just nervous about missing Snarl and Rotom. They're faster? Oh, but Poly survives, okay. That's not Scarf Tom, though, right? I just think the Moltres isn't max speed here. Okay, it's big that we get a Snarl off. I think Helping Hand Fiery Wrath honestly may have been enough to KO Rotom there. Yeah. Okay, either way, I finally got the Parasong I was looking for, but this still isn't over. Oh, but they Trick Room. That actually maybe wins us the game. Well, let's see. What do you do now if you're my opponent? I know I outspeed your... You can't Ice Beam me. I can just Snarl again. Like, I think here... It's a little bit risky to do this because we can get crit, but I want to just go for a Helping Hand and a Snarl. What's my alternative? Okay, wait, let's actually think this through. Anytime you click Parasong, you just have to actually think everything through and not throw the game away. But, like, we know that Moltres is slower than Rotom right now. We know that this thing has Ice Beam, but it's at -1 special attack, so it's not going to KO Moltres. So, like, I like Helping Hand Snarl here, honestly. The only risk is just Ice Beam freeze or critical hit. If they Eerie Impulse, that's fine. Your Rotom's not going to KO Politoed, I think, at -2. Oh, but you could double up onto... Oh, they targeted Politoed. Oh my gosh. This might just KO Rotom, though? Almost. Oh, this freeze is scary, though. Wow, they are Citrus Stomp now. The Moltres is just slow on our end. Yeah, never mind. I really wonder if Fiery Wrath could have just KO'd. T-Bolts into Poly. Nice, Politoed survives that. 2 turns of Perish left. Oh, we just win the game now. Yeah, with Kingdra in the back. Because, like, it's 1 turn of Perish after this turn. But, man, this was not an easy game. I actually don't think we actually, yeah, we're in a position where we maybe didn't even need the Perish Song in the end game. But it was always just, like, the safest route to play towards, in my opinion. Yeah, nice. That was a doozy of a match, but we had to, right? Like, I think today's set of games show you the potential variance with rain teams. Game 1, we ran into a team that didn't have a very good rain matchup, and we were just able to sweep through. When you go up into Grimmsnarl, Ferrothorn, Lapras, Porygon 2, Glastrier, I mean, like, all the Pokemon we went up against were really bulky, and so it's like we couldn't really just pick up KOs with Helping Hand Max from Kingdra, for example. I mean, going to Grimmsnarl back-to-back is also tricky. Grimmsnarl is just one of the most common Pokemon in the format right now, so you do want to typically have, like, reliable answers into it. You know, we don't have, like, a Steel type. Steel type would be valuable. That's why you see often, like, Metagross's or Kartanas. And so I had to adjust my playstyle a little bit in that second and third game to come up with a different game plan, because just leading something like Polykingdra and just spamming it immediately isn't going to be that valuable. So, you know, Luxray is not the star of this team, but it's meant to just provide support overall. I think the Specs Moltres is really interesting because that actually alone commands a lot of how your opponents may play against you. For example, in that first game, I think the double up onto the Moltres slot was to cover for Moltres maxing, and similarly in this last game, like, I don't think my opponent was expecting Snarl. Now, one thing I realized that my opponent could have done was double up onto Moltres. If you double up onto Moltres in that position, my Kingdra was pretty low, right? Then it becomes really close, because we win off a double protect on Kingdra. I just, I want to do the Fiery Wrath calc there, actually, in that endgame, because that was enough to KO the Rotom. We should have just gone for that instead. Well, I guess Rotom could have protected in that position, right? So Moltres, Rotom, Fiery Wrath. We were at +1, Helping Hand support, and Choice Specs. Yeah, it actually might be a KO, because, like, a Snarl did around, like, just under 50%, right? Yeah, and this is, I think, Snarl, against max HP 0 special defense Rotom does 40 to 48%. That's just +1 Spec Snarl. So Helping Hand, Fiery Wrath, actually would be a 97, it'd be an 87.5% chance to one-shot. So, yeah. Okay, well then, I don't know, maybe Fiery Wrath was the play then, because I also just don't have to account for a miss. But that was a really scary game. Either way, like, I think once again, today's episode is like game 1 shows how well things can go with rain, although I should have just let Polykingdra. I just didn't really know what to expect from Xurkitree in game 1. Game 2 is like when everything goes wrong. I think if Ferrothorn does feint that double up, like that's why Perish Song and Politoed is actually a really critical component to this team, because otherwise you just don't do enough damage to these really, really ultra bulky Pokemon. And then game 3 was an example of the matchup not being amazing, but us playing in a way where our opponent didn't get that much value out of their Dynamax. So then it would have been pretty interesting if they actually ended up connecting that high horsepower the turn they missed, because initially, well, actually Rotom survived anyway, right? So because Rotom survived, yeah, the Thunderbolt, then Perish Song would have ended it for us anyway. So yeah, I mean that third game was wild because we didn't get a Scald Burn, and you shouldn't count on it obviously, but our odds of it were pretty decent there. And yeah, I think the main thing was just making, like, Luxray was really valuable just to bring those Intimidates over and over again onto the Glastrier. So yeah. That's going to be it for this first episode with this team. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.